So like during quarantine, there were certain times we were like, okay, we got to clean up our diet. And then we were like, we're kind of having fun right now.
Yeah.
Like if we stay up until midnight and we want sugar cookies, that's your thing.
I don't want to feel shameful, so I'm not going to make the commitment.
Right.
Right. And so people right now listening going, what? This is the push podcast. You're supposed to be pushing. Like what I'm saying is I know that the damage could be done when you start making commitments and you constantly break it and you never get serious.
Welcome to the Push Podcast. Why push? Because a nudge is just too friendly.
And friend, we're here to help you get your shit together. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Janelle.
And we're the Copelands.
We've got 3 daughters, 2 businesses, a mortgage, and lots of responsibilities. So just like you, we're struggling to find that perfect balance of ambitious go-getter hustle while still staying present, loving our kids, and working on our relationship.
And doing the laundry, going to the grocery store. Oh, and don't forget being mindful.
All of the stuff. So if you're juggling all the things, but you're also trying to get to the next level, guess what? You're in the right place. So get ready to be pushed. Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast. I'm Janelle.
And this is Eddie. You came in kind of like very monotone.
What the hell? Did you just ruin the intro?
No.
Okay, well, act lively. Who are you? Because I was like, hey, this is Janelle.
This is Eddie.
Okay. You know, those of you that are married or in a relationship, sometimes you're on the right page. Sometimes you're just completely nowhere near the same book. I just want to know what book you're reading right now.
I'm reading the right book. What book are you reading?
I mean, you literally pointed at me as to go, and then you just weren't ready. I
was ready. Oh, my God.
Anyways, well, this is episode number 50 with the Copelands. And today we're going to talk about discipline and willpower, why you might be sucking at both. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you about a quick what in the world.
Okay.
I was a guest on a podcast the other day.
Yeah.
My friend owns Baker's Bodega. Shout out to Manny. Invited me on his podcast. He does this real cool podcast, Drinking Coffee with Bakers. And so they interview different people. He has a co-host. This guy's name's Phil, and he's not actually in the baking industry. He told me he was a general contractor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He just has a good relationship with Manny. So they have this podcast show and they just have fun and drink coffee at 7:00 at night. I don't know. I would be up all night long for 3 days if I did that. Anyways, so Phil says that he's a general contractor. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm getting ready to get my house remodeled. We started working on a couple of things. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's such a pain in the butt, though, because people think that things are so cheap. And I was like, really? Tell me more. And he's like, people think, oh, I want to put in this bathtub and redo my bathroom. And then you tell them the price is going to be $25,000 and they freak out. And I was like, well, a couple things came to mind. So number one, I think it's fair to say that as a consumer on the other end, if you gave me a quote for $25,000 for my bathroom, I would be like, yeah, that's not my guy, right? So immediately that kind of came to mind, like, yeah, I'm not paying $25,000 for a freaking bathroom, especially when I have 3 bathrooms to remodel and a kitchen. So he said, yeah, but if you're picking out like a $20,000 bathtub, then you should know. And I'm like, wait, they make such a thing? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. What is it made out of?
So the point is we got into this huge conversation and I said, I got to tell you, I had about 16 different contractors come over, all of which are business owners. They're representing their own business. And most of them sucked at it. I'll just tell you, like the presentation, the sales presentation, I don't think that they realize that they are salespeople trying to land a deal. They're just literally there to hear what you want, give you a bid, and that's it. You take it or leave it. And so he said that. He was like, if you don't want to pay the price, you don't want to pay the price. And immediately my sales sensor went off. And I was like, I need to train these people on how to close sales.
Right.
Because that's not the mentality that you need to have, whether you're a general contractor, whether you're a plumber, whether you're an exterminator, whether you're a baker. Just saying like the out loud that you think you can just give somebody a price and then it's their decision, whether they want to purchase from you or go with you or not, I think is the ultimate sales fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is not like, I'm not ragging on Phil.
On him, right?
This was something that triggered me because so often we work with business owners who kind of have that same mentality. Like, well, my prices are my prices, take it or leave it. I'm going to leave it because I think that you need to know how to articulate your value. And so I talked a little bit about that in the episode, which was about like, it's your responsibility as a salesperson, as a business owner, to be able to articulate why someone should consider you and your company to invest in, right? Because I'm not just paying for a bathroom. I'm ultimately deciding whether I want to go with your expensive ass price or somebody cheaper, right? But it's time, it's quality, it's money. Like there's a lot of different things to consider. So really quick, and then I'm going to let you chat, but one of the contractors that came as a referral for 2 bathrooms and the kitchen, he quoted me $178,000. Like I could build another house with that. Like the stuff I want is very basic, right? So he was by far the highest bid that we got. And he never followed up, didn't give exceptional service. Like there was nothing exceptional that made his company stand out. They didn't have a special app. They didn't have a concierge. They didn't have anything different that was a differentiating factor that would have made me say, wow, I feel like I'm going to miss out if I don't give this guy almost $200,000. Like I have to work with him, right?
So you're telling me a person offers you, it says it's $100,000.
Wait, hold on, $178,000. Then another guy came and he was like a younger guy, kind of like, he's like, look, my uncle has his general contract license. I'm going to work under him. But I'll tell you what, I'll do your whole house for $17,000. I was like, no thanks, right? Because you got $178,000 and you got $17,000. There's a huge disparity there, right? So the point is I'm never going to pick someone who's totally cheaper than everyone else because obviously it just doesn't even seem reasonable. It doesn't seem like you know what you're doing. But I'm never going to go with a company that quotes me $178,000 if you don't give me some amazing differentiating like wow factor that shows me why I should do business with you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I said, if someone comes to you and says, I want you to spend $200,000 with me, and I'm not going to paint a picture. I'm not going to tell you an amazing story. I'm not going to try to give you more important, because here's the thing, and this is what people need to understand. Like when we teach business, one of the things that is a simple thing to understand is that this is what sales is. All you're trying to do is convince someone that what you have to offer is more valuable than the money that's in their pocket, right? So I have to value the kitchen, the bathroom, whatever you're going to be building more than I value the money that's in my pocket. That's a simple way to think about it. Now, building that value is not simply just like, oh, I'm going to say, hey, here are all these nice, cool things. Building that value is about, hey, let me get a better understanding of what you're trying to accomplish with this bathroom. Like, you want a place where a family can come, there's space, they feel comfortable, it's inviting, it's all those different things. You don't have to sell me
on it right now.
No, I'm just telling you, but what I'm saying is that what in the world is a very interesting thing, because for someone to say people don't understand how expensive it is, it makes me want to respond back and says, well, you don't.
So I told him, I said, that's not my job.
Yeah, you don't understand how much value you're supposed to be providing.
Well, I said, that's not my job as a customer to understand the value you're providing. It's your job as the contractor or as the business owner, as the salesperson, to let me know what the value is that you're offering.
Sell me.
Right. And so I wanted to share this for many reasons. And it's not a dig on Phil. I know how frustrating it is to know your value, know your worth. And then you're just like, people don't get it. I get that. But it's also my responsibility as the cake mama to explain to you why when I give you a quote for $598 for a 3-tier cake, why, if you come back to me and say, oh, wow, that's expensive. My neighbor said she'd do it for $50. I'm going to give you 3.2 million reasons why the cake that you're going to get for $50 doesn't even come close to what I'm about to offer you for nearly $6, right? I know that it's my job to get you to feel like major FOMO if you decide that you want to save almost $550 to go with a cheaper option, because you're not going to get to be a part of what I have that I could create as far as an experience goes for you, right?
Yeah.
So the point of this What in the World is to let you know that if you're a consumer, pay attention. Are people actually selling you? Because if I'm getting a fence installed in my backyard, I want you to envision it with me. I want you to feel what I'm trying to do. And then I want you to hit me with a price that you feel is fair and reasonable for your services, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to know if you're a business owner, it is your responsibility. I'm so sick and tired of people saying people just have no idea what goes into this. Well, shit, they shouldn't because they don't do what you do for a living.
Yeah. So what in the world are you thinking when you sitting there going, how come they don't understand the value? Because you haven't done a good
job of explaining the value.
You have to create a construct in someone's mind where they go, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And then you say, for that amazing thing, it's an equal price that goes along with that. But this is not so much about like being a consumer or being a business owner. This is a lot to do with just interaction with people, right? When understanding whether you're applying for a job or maybe you're starting something, a business, maybe you're trying to get into a relationship, but of presenting yourself and understanding that if you have value, how do you communicate that value and how do you get people to understand who you are? Well, and it's all about really good sales and presentation skills and things of that nature. So I think those are all important skills.
And being really clear, everything you do is sales.
Everything.
Right now I was in the middle of cooking and I was like, honey, I need some zucchini.
Sold.
And I just looked at you. I'm cooking for you. Sold, right? You ran and you got my zucchini. If I'm trying to convince my kids of why they should or shouldn't do something, I'm selling them.
Yeah.
So everybody that's listening to this, I want you to understand your responsibility when it comes to interactions. You are selling, whether it be selling your best self, whether it be selling a company on why they need to give you more information. Like there's so much sales that in every interaction, you're trading something, your time, your attention, your money, for whatever else someone else is presenting. And in this case, for dinner, I was trading my time to go to the store. So you could eat.
So I can eat. So it was done. I was sold. Right.
Okay. So that's my what in the world. It's a good one, right?
It's a good one.
And again, it wasn't about Phil, but it was just interesting when he brought up the conversation and said that. It immediately triggered me to the hundreds of business students we have that say the same thing. And then also the 16 or so contractors that I've recently had in my home that I feel did a terrible job in most cases of selling me on why their company should have been selected.
And just piss poor follow-up too.
Oh, terrible.
It's just like...
Okay, so then I have another company that I should kind of out this company. I was really excited. They were a referral. They came over, 2 guys, super nice. You know, we spent a lot of time. They came back over the next day, did some measurements on an iPad. I was like, wow, this is professional. That tells me that it's going to probably be more costly, right?
You guys got equipment and shit.
They had equipment, they had drivers, they had uniforms, different people for different things. And I was really interested. And I was like, okay, if the top bid was $178, what would I be willing to pay these guys? Because I wanted to go with them. So long story short, about 7 days goes by, I get no estimate. I send a text to the 2 guys. Hey, still haven't received an estimate. Hey, so sorry for the delay. We've been experiencing some issues at the office. We'll get it out to you in the next 48 hours. 7 more days goes by.
Wah, wah, wah.
Right. And at this point, I'm already knowing I'm not going to do business with them, but I felt so upset that you were a referral. You wasted 2 days of my time and you didn't even follow up. And I followed up 7 days ago, right? So I sent a message. I said, hey, I just want to let you know I never received the quote. And I also wanted to let you know that I won't be selecting your company to move forward with, my remodel. And he goes, I'm so sorry. Just what a catastrophe. It's definitely something that we dropped the ball on. Okay, appreciate it. And he follows up with let us know, Janelle, if there's anything we can do for you in the future. And I said, well, not even speaking about the future, I'm talking about now.
My remodel is the future.
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff for you to do, but you couldn't even come through on a proposal. So how do you propose you be able to help me in the future if you can't help me with this?
Right.
It was just like an irritating response that he said to where I asked the question, let me know how you plan on helping me in the future if you couldn't even help me with a quote for 2 weeks, and he didn't respond.
Yeah, and the thing is that kind of leads into our topic. Like, you think about the times that people make commitments, right? And you make commitments to yourself.
Right.
And if you make a commitment to someone and you fall short, but then you're at the same time as apologizing for not following through,
right?
All
Just
of a sudden, now you're asking for another commitment in the future. Let me know.
Right.
Let
me know when you want to start this diet again.
We weren't able to fulfill this commitment, but let me know when you're ready for another commitment, because I'm sure I'm going to show up this next time, right? Like, it's just like, it's like, I don't know if you have the credibility, but nice try, my friend.
Yeah.
Right.
And I felt like, I don't want to sound like an ass, but I felt like you needed to know. That was a really stupid thing of you to say, let me know if we can help you in the future. Why would I ever reach out to you if you couldn't help me with this thing? No, like, the future's out for you, bro.
Me. We'll show up next time.
Okay, so speaking of discipline, willpower, commitments, I committed recently to 30 days of yoga, right?
Yeah.
And I've got yoga clothes, I've got a yoga mat, I've got a yoga space, I've got yoga apps, I've got...
And yoga is like a meditation.
Yoga meditation.
So yoga's internal.
Membership.
So you've got yoga inside.
I've got yoga candles, right? And yet, even though I made the commitment, there's days where I just don't want to do that shit. Right?
Yeah.
And so what I've really been kind of leaning into is, well, I made a commitment to myself and I get to move my body. And it's something I wanted to do to challenge myself. So why would I give up on that then?
Yeah.
Because that is my personal commitment to myself. And if I can't be good on my own word to myself, then what's it really for?
Right. Oh, absolutely. And we've all been there, right? So we've all had a storied past of making commitments to ourselves and then breaking those commitments. But I don't think we understand like the damage that it can do long term, because I know that there's a lot of people, even for me, like there's commitments I made to myself that...
Like you're not going to have biscuits?
I'm not going to have biscuits, or I'm not going to have a sugar cookie, right? And I'm not really committed to the commitment.
Right.
But I make the commitment anyway. And then I end up letting myself down because I would prefer to have something that's good to me instead of doing things that are good for me.
Which creates shame.
Which creates shame. And then you just say, fuck it, I'll do it again tomorrow. I'm going to have cookies again, right? And so you're all just completely thrown off because of the fact that you're struggling with making commitments.
Right. And so I think the first step for both of us is we've learned like to say, that's not really a commitment I'm willing to be committed to right now.
Right.
Right. So like during quarantine, there were certain times we were like, okay, we got to clean up our diet. And then we were like, we're kind of having fun right now.
Yeah.
Like if we stay up until midnight and we want sugar cookies, that's your thing.
I don't want to feel shameful, so I'm not going to make the commitment.
Right.
Right. And so people right now listening going, what? This is the push podcast. You're supposed to be pushing. Like what I'm saying is I know that the damage could be done when you start making commitments and you constantly break it and you never get serious.
So I think that this episode is about like, I wanted to ask you people how and what you're doing every day right now. Are you doing the things that you think are good for you, that make you feel good, or the things that are actually good for you, right?
Right.
Good for you versus feeling good to you.
Right, right. So like, donuts are good to me because I like to eat them.
Right.
But they're not good for me.
Well, they're good to you in taste. They're good to you in satisfaction. They're good to you because it's a sugary rush, right? So that's what we mean when we say they're good to you.
And like when I was in fitness a long time ago, now it seems like a long time ago, like it used to drive me crazy when people like, oh, I'm going to have a treat. I'm like, only dogs have treats, right? Humans do not have treats.
Wait,
right?
Fab and I went bike riding the other day. It was a 22-mile bike ride, right? And we rode 11 miles to get to this restaurant and we were starving. And so we were just like talking about this food we were going to eat when we got there. And we were definitely dogs, like, right, trying to get to the food.
Right.
And we get there and the lady says there's to be an hour and a half long wait. And we almost started crying. So we looked at each other and we were like, okay, if we ride 11 miles back, that'll take an hour and then 30-minute drive to come back. We could make it in an hour and a half. Let's do it. So we start hauling ass, like to go to the car, which is 30 minutes away. Well, an hour ride, right? So then we were like maybe halfway through the bike ride, the 11 miles to get back. And the restaurant says, your table is ready.
Damn.
And she goes, let's turn around and go back. I'm like, girl, no, we are already halfway. We've already rode 30 minutes. We may as well ride the rest of the way. And then we'll call them and say, hey, can you hold our table? And she's like, right. ride faster. I want my fish sticks, right? And I was like, you're not a dog. We are not rewarding ourselves with food. Stop it right now. But it's very often that we say that.
Yeah.
People come into the Cake Mamas in their sports bras and sweaty, like when pre-COVID, when you could go to the gym. And they're like, oh, I just went to the gym. I totally earned a treat. And I'm thinking, I'm happy to sell you a treat. But let me just tell you, you eat one of these cupcakes, it's not nearly what you burned at the gym right now in 30 minutes.
Yeah. And one of the things I learned a long time ago is you can never outwork a bad diet.
Never.
You can't. And so the key thing is to understand the reason why you don't want to treat yourself is because you don't want to condition yourself that you're doing all these good things for you. Mm-hmm. That is the treat itself.
Well, you think, and I think that you just are treating yourself to a cupcake after a long workout, you think it's motivation.
Right.
But it's really debilitating any progress you might ever have.
Because the feeling of that cupcake is like, oh, that felt so good. Mm-hmm. Right.
So now I'm a dog and I need treats.
And so before you know it, you've removed the exercise or whatever you thought was earning that cupcake, and you just get right to the treat, right? And so before you know it, there's no more workout. It's just, oh, I'm going to have a cupcake because that felt good.
Right.
And so the key thing is understanding like, hey, there's a time and a place that you say, hey, I'm going to eat cookies.
Yep.
Right? Because I want to eat cookies.
Right.
Not because I earned it. Mm-hmm. Right? Not because I deserve it. No, just because I want it.
Right.
Right? And just be real with yourself.
And I think I play it out in my head though, like, okay, I want to eat these cookies because I know cookies are good, but really I also want to be more fit and I want my clothes to fit looser. So I have to weigh, does the taste of this cookie, this friggin' little tiny ass cookie, one cookie's not going to be enough.
Wait, I sometimes when I eat the cookies, I rationalize and go, well, I'm a really big man. I mean, I'm 235 pounds. This little bitty cookie is only 110 calories.
Okay.
Right? So I can eat 9 of them, right?
Oh my God, 1,000 calories. You're justifying 9 cookies.
I burn 3,000 a day.
Right.
No, but you start to play games with yourself and you start rationalizing
And I'll tell you,
things.
You can be like the biggest supporter of whatever lie or belief you're trying to create. Because you literally are saying that, like right now, you're selling me on why you should be able to eat 9 cookies.
Yeah, it's only
You're
9.
totally convinced.
Yeah. And like we said this before, it's rationalize. You ration
the
lies. Little bitty lies. Little bitty lies don't feel like lies. Mm-mm. They feel like, oh, that doesn't sound
so
bad.
That's kind of the discussion of today is like the commitments that you make to yourself. Are you withholding those? Mm-hmm. Are you standing behind those commitments, right? And so whether it's 30 days of yoga, by the way, I did that because I'm trying to build discipline with myself around something. I'm also trying to practice gratitude, and it makes me feel really thankful daily that I can move my body. Mm-hmm. And it feels good. Like I figure if I chose a freaking 90-day Shaun T HIIT training that I have to bounce around and hurt my knees and do all, like that's not something you look forward to, but that's more about building the discipline, I think, of I'm going to step up to a challenge and do something really, really hard. So I guess what I'm saying to our listeners is create the discipline around staying true to your commitments with something that's going to actually make you feel good.
Yeah. And I love that because the key thing too is not everything is like yoga. Like I think yoga is one of those things that depending on what yoga you're doing, throughout it, you feel good. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the things that are good for you in the process of doing it doesn't feel good, right? Mm-hmm. It's because you're it's working out, exercising, maybe it's studying and you're in school, or maybe it's at work, you're putting in the extra effort because you're trying to move up, or maybe it's your business and you're
working
we've been there.
Hours,
and so those things are good for you. They just don't feel good. Right. And so I think a lot of times that's why we think that those things that are good to us are treats because they're very different in that there's instant gratification.
It feels good to sit and watch 5 episodes of a show.
You know what feels amazing is when you've been doing yoga for 30 days straight or 90 days straight and you feel like you have flexibility. You feel like your blood is flowing through your body and you're healing faster. And, you've got this amazing cardiovascular health that you feel like I'm breathing better. All those different things. My mindset is more clear. All those things
it's funny
take
to
time,
me, though.
But that's the results of doing things that are good
when
for
I
you.
Think of the challenge and when I think of like when 30 days is over, I think, because I'm very visual, I think of a calendar that's got all the days blocked off. They're color coded. And that feels really good because I kept my commitment to myself.
Yeah.
So I think for you guys, we could do a whole nother episode on this because you could make a commitment to something that's hard because you're trying to exercise the discipline of doing difficult things. I think more people need to do more difficult shit.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're an introvert, maybe the challenge is say hi to someone or make eye contact with someone once a day. Like you got to do something outside of your comfort zone. I do think that we spend so much of our lives trying to seek comfort and treats. And then we expect to have this problem-free life, right? But then boom, you're 30, 40 pounds overweight and you don't know why because you're saying, I've tried every diet. No, you chose comfort consistently versus something that was good for you, which would have been to say no to the cookies and to go to the gym a couple of times a week, right? Or to commit to a yoga challenge. You were committed to the wrong thing, which got you the result that you don't want.
I hope you guys caught that because what Janelle said is super powerful. Like when you think about, like, I want to point on one thing. Self-esteem is built on the fact that you can live up to your commitments and you can do right by yourself and you can show yourself real self-love.
Right.
And I think self-love is when you do things that are good for you, that are hard, that are strenuous, that tax you a little bit and you feel good because you were able to live up to your commitment. That does wonders for your self-esteem. And then for those individuals that, and I've been there where I was coming home, playing video games, drinking a beer every day, thinking that I'm searching for comfort. That's the comfort I'm looking for. But what happens is it doesn't prepare me for the hard things. It doesn't prepare me when life throws me a disturbance that I've got to respond to because I've been practicing and conditioning comfort. Right. And so I think that when you pick something like, hey, I'm gonna do 30 days of yoga. For me, I'm doing 30 days of videos that I'm putting on Instagram because I'm just trying to like, can I stay consistent with this? Can I put out content every single day? And that feels good. It's not easy. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm running out of time, right? But those are things I think that stretch you, that pull you, and they do something for your self-esteem. They make you a greater person.
So I want you to think about what your commitment's going to be for the next, let's say 30 days. Can you commit to exercising discipline and willpower around something that's actually good for you?
Yeah.
So for you, it's you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to get your name out there. For me, I want to value my mobility as I get older, right? So we're choosing to do challenges that are difficult, require discipline, but things that also you're excited about that make you feel good, right? They give you something long term, right? And so think about that the next time you're committing to a diet. Like if I were to say committing to a diet, I'd say this is going to help me show myself that I'm worth it.
Yeah.
This is going to help me maintain this commitment to myself for 30 days that I'm just going to see if I can not let myself down for 30 days, right?
Yeah.
And I think you should talk to people about that. Like enlist help, enlist friends, like tell people what you're trying to do. Because some friends, when it comes to diet, they'll be like, girl, you just eat the hot wings and drink the beer. And if you were to say it in a different way, hey, for 30 days, I'm going to make a commitment to myself just because I'm trying to exercise and build self-discipline, which is going to help me build my self-confidence, which is a form of self-love. Can you help me stay focused on the commitment that I'm making to myself?
Yeah, I love that.
That's different than, hey, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to starve myself for 30 days and I'm going to go without fried foods. I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm not going to eat, like you're just kind of setting yourself up to not have discipline. And instead I'm saying like you can create the discipline by doing something to make yourself feel proud.
And I just love how you put that because you made the discipline more about the why around the self-love and self-care instead of just, I'm going to lay out all these restrictions and I'm just going to like stay away from these things or I'm going to try to avoid all of these things that are bad for me, which when it comes down to it, when your willpower runs out, and it will because your willpower is weak. Because here's the thing. If you're disciplined all day, by the time the end of the day comes, like you're tired and your willpower is diminished. And so that's when you start to eat foods that you don't want to eat. You start to do things that you don't want to do because your willpower is weakened.
Yeah.
The key thing is to say the only way you can get past that is that you've grounded it in something that's greater than just, I'm not going to eat sugar. I've grounded it in the fact that I'm trying to show myself the ultimate self-love and self-care by doing things that are good for me, that are hard. And I'm going to enlist other people around me and let them know that this is what I'm trying to do because hopefully the people around you are supportive and they're going to support you through that.
And if you try to attack a diet or approach a diet with all of the things you can't have, I'm going to tell you, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't feel good to live a life of restriction, right? But if you said, for 30 days, I'm going to cut out sugar and replace it with fuel because my body has become accustomed to living on Starbucks or cupcakes or whatever. And I know that long-term that's not good for me. So I'm just going to commit to 30 days fueling my body with things that make me feel good. And I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Totally different than I can't have this. I can't have this. I can't have this. What can you have? You can have berries.
Right.
You can have coconut shreds or dark chocolate. All of the things that you can have that would be better fuel, but still curb your sweet tooth.
Yeah. And I think that's a big one, is making sure that you're looking at it from an empowering standpoint. What can I have? Well, on this diet, I can have these things, and that makes me excited. But if you're focusing on what you can't have, then you've limited your menu completely. And then all of a sudden you feel like I can't have anything. And then you feel miserable.
So I read this thing really quick. I want to share it because it's what you're talking about. So apparently there are 3 types of discipline: preventative discipline, supportive discipline, and corrective discipline. I think if you think about that, you want to try to cover all bases when you're doing any sort of challenge or commitment to yourself, right? So preventative would be, I'm throwing all the shit out that I can't eat.
Well, I was going to say that too, because you said I'm going to do keto, right? And the one thing you have not bought is those coconut mother's cookies.
Yeah, I don't buy any of the stuff I'm not really going to eat.
But so when you think about the preventative discipline, is making sure you're not setting yourself, like, one of the things I think that's important is that like 20% of those actions that you take to prevent will help you 80% of the way, right? So not buying the crappy foods if you're trying to go on a good diet, right?
Yeah, just don't put yourself in that situation.
Maybe it's discipline is around negative thinking. So, hey, I'm going to make sure I don't get around negative people, right? So
I'm all for that.
Like all those little things, I think, help build your ability to actually come through and stay with your commitments.
Yeah, so preventative measures are important if you're setting out to make a commitment to yourself. The next thing is supportive. Like, I know that lots of people, women in particular, that want to lose weight, they're afraid to declare it. They're afraid to be public about it. I will just tell you, for the sake of growing your social media, if you ever wanted people to be a part of following a journey, a fitness journey, and a before and after picture that makes you feel really uncomfortable and really insecure, people want to cheer you on. Like, do you know transformation photos are some of the most shared photos? They're some of the most commented and liked and cheered on photos because people want to see what's possible for them, right?
Yeah. It was so funny you said that, because I was reading this thing today where it said these executives at a very, very prominent financial firm do these feedback sessions basically with the executives. And so they basically record a conversation, and whoever is leading the conversation is talking about their failures and their weaknesses. And this is broadcasted to the entire company.
Oh, wow.
Right? So the executives go out and they have a conversation, and they basically say that we have what most people would call humiliation time, but it's actually where we get the most growth. And so this executive is basically saying, one of the things that I was doing wrong was I was micromanaging my team, and, the CEO gave me feedback and basically said, hey, you manage people, not tasks. And when you micromanage, you're managing the task, not the people. And was like, gave him this really good feedback. And then he was like, oh, okay. And then he verbalized all of his weaknesses, and he just said, I'm just not good with people. And I need to work on getting better at people. So basically he put it out there and proclaimed what he was needed to get better at. But that gives you a tremendous amount of growth, especially when you're thinking about like, hey, I want a weight loss goal and I need to put myself out there.
Okay. I didn't know where you were going with that. So supportive, like that's what we were saying.
Right.
So who do you have that's willing to give you uncomfortable feedback maybe?
Right. Who's able to be real with you to say, hey, you're not supposed to have that, right? You promised yourself, you made a commitment.
So what's interesting though with the social media thing, I shared the 30-day yoga challenge on social media. So many people are messaging me like, hey, what app are you using? Or, where should I sign up for one? I'm like, well, just make a commitment to yourself. People are asking if they could come over and do yoga with me. No, it's just a private time commitment, right? But the point is I think if you share socially and you're verbal about what you're trying to do, the support will be there. But women in particular, they just don't like to set themselves up for failure. That's an indicator right there that you don't even trust yourself to be committed to something. So I think supportive measures are really important.
Right.
And then last is corrective, which I think is more along the lines of what you were saying about the CEO, being able to say, hey, you're not really good with people. This is what you do with them. Like something about corrective discipline, right? So
that's probably the hardest thing for especially people out there that struggle with their weight or they struggle with things, is that there's so much shame with that that people feel like they can't talk about it, right? And so if you're with someone that struggles with their weight, having this delicate conversation that you're trying to help a friend because you've seen that, hey, maybe they're getting a little out of control and it looks unhealthy, and you can't course correct them, you can't give them corrective, discipline in that sense. That's hard, right? But people set that up. They built these walls all around them to protect them from something that they are gained shame from, right? And so,
another form of like corrective discipline in my mind, I'm thinking like there's an app. There's several apps where you can track your weight, right? And maybe you don't want to weigh yourself every day, especially like if I eat salt, I'm going to retain water. But I do, for the most part, like every other day, weigh myself just to kind of track it, just to see, like I usually fluctuate about 5 pounds. But if I'm doing yoga, eating healthy, obviously I should be losing and decreasing without even trying, right? So a corrective measure would be, or corrective discipline would be, I'm tracking it. I see it on a bar graph. Again, I'm visual, right? So if I've been tracking my weight for 60 days and it's all over the freaking place, then at some point I got to step back and say, okay, what am I doing here as far as consistency? Right. Why isn't the needle moving in a direction that I want it to go? Right. And so I think, again, for me, visually, being able to look at that is a corrective measure for me to say, well, you got to get your shit together. Because,
and not only that, but maybe you're following the wrong plan.
Right.
Right? If it's...
Well, I'm saying it's course corrective.
Yeah.
You need to do something corrective right now, because here's an indicator that it's not going in the direction you want it to go in. So that's where we're going to leave you right now, is what indicators is life giving you that maybe a particular category in your life is not going in the right direction? Is it your finances? Your bank account should tell you that, right? Is it your relationship with your kids? Is it a relationship with your marriage? Is it your health? Is it, that would be reflected in what's in your cabinet.
And these indicators don't mean quit. These indicators don't mean stop.
Discipline.
It means correct, like change course, modify, adjust things.
Right.
And I think that that's important, because I think when it comes to those things you mentioned, they just stop.
Yep.
When there's indicators that say,
commit.
Right. We've been going to therapy for our marriage and it doesn't seem to be working. Right.
Good.
Adjust.
Yep.
Modify.
Do something different. That's a corrective discipline you need to have right now. Correct the fact that it's not working. Find something else.
Right.
So I hope this was helpful for you guys. It wasn't supposed to cause any shame. It's also like, we want to inspire you to get better at something. Yeah. Like, be committed to something. I promise you that if you stay committed to something and you can see the little checkoff chart and your needle got moved in the right direction, you're going to build self-discipline, which is a form of self-love, which is a form of confidence, and you're going to feel a lot better. So
absolutely.
Cheers to pushing through. Stay committed.
Go get it. Thank you for listening to the Push Podcast. Hey, we want to hear from you. So if you have a question or there's a particular topic that you want us to tackle and you want us to help you push through, you got to do something for us. You got to go to Apple Podcasts and you got to leave a rating and a review. And in that review, go ahead and leave that question with your Instagram handle so that we can shout you out when we actually answer the question. And we'll talk about that on the podcast and make sure that, hey, this particular podcast is made for you. So leave a rating, leave a review, leave your handle, and until next time, push through.